So today's video is kind of a project update, kind of not at the same time. I'm really just playing around in the garage today and figured I'd get the video rolling while I have this all set up. So the S15, as you'll have seen in photos and videos before, I've kept an almost entirely OEM exterior on it. There's a couple little touches like the mirror visors and then the AeroWorks front lip, but basically it's all just OEM Nissan stuff, either original to the car or dealer add-ons that I sourced afterwards. But I was never against the idea of an aero kit for the car. If something appropriate for the direction of it and the era turned up, I wasn't going to say no, and something kind of did. So earlier this year I did a run up to Edmonton, which you would have seen on the blog, teased that along with the wheels that were seen, there were some other things coming back in the back of the truck. Didn't show at the time what they were, but these are them. So figured it was time I actually get these out of my office and test fit them on the car to see what they actually look like. And what you're looking at is a genuine Bomex body kit, or at least front bumper and side skirts of it. So I'd found these on Kijiji, fellow a few hours north of here had them. He had them in deep storage for quite a number of years, dug them out, didn't want them anymore, and decided to list them. So maybe with just a little bit of persuasion from John, I borrowed the truck for a day and made the run up and came back with all this, and actually I'm glad I did. So yes, this is a real, slightly worse for wear given its age, real Bomex Japan kit from give or take 20 years ago. Was off a pearl white car, ironically, the original color of mine, but obviously it would have to be fixed and resprayed anyway, so I mean, don't let that deter you. The price was still phenomenal given the damage, and it's just fiberglass. We can fix that if I decide to run the skirts, get back to that. But yeah, I came back with a pair of side skirts, one of which you'll see here resting against the car just on some leveling blocks to loosely hold it in place, and then the front bumper, which I actually have somewhat fitted to the car here. So yeah, like I said, I figured I'd start actually test fitting this and playing around to see if I want to use it or not. I won't lie, I bought all this primarily as just stuff for the collection. I figured if I ended up using it, bonus. If not, it would still be cool just to have in my possession. So, you know, maybe I'll run this, maybe I won't. I'm getting some ideas here about what it'll look like on the car. Fitment is actually pretty good. It's very loosely bolted in place, but the fender bumper gaps are phenomenal. The headlight's pretty good. There's a small sag here because it's not fully on the support. It can't shift far enough back in, so that will be addressed. The main areas of concern are just here, the inside corners of the headlights. There's a little bit of a gap either side, but I'm still tweaking it because the main issue is actually the crash bar under here. So yes, I also know I need to repaint, repowder coat, whatever, all of this stuff back here. It's a little tired looking, but the crash bar was the area of concern. You can see how far back the main opening of the bumper would actually go normally. So I've roughly trimmed it for now. This will all be cleaned up, made a little nicer once I have the dimensions finalized, but I had to trim that to let it actually sit further back, otherwise it just hit the crash bar and wouldn't even go on the car. So that was the first step. Still needs a little bit more taken off because it's contacted in the corner, so it can't go quite far enough back yet. And then after that, looks like we'll have to trim the grille back a little bit too. Not much, just a tiny bit to get that to sit properly, but overall it's actually pretty good. So as I said, I'm kind of testing this today to see what I think. So the side skirts are the area I'm kind of wondering about here because the original Aero skirts I'm a big fan of. They look awesome on the car, but also the Bomex skirts, being an aftermarket kit of this style and era, you do have to drill into the rockers to mount them with a few screws for obvious reasons. I'm a little hesitant to do that, so maybe we could run some double-sided tape to secure that if it were to run them, and that would be enough. But anyway, that's kind of the main area of concern with these skirts. They do look good in the car, so that's to be decided. The front bumper I would very much like to run. It doesn't look too visually heavy compared to the OEM Aero, but I still have some ideas of how we could maybe modify it a little bit just to flow better with the factory skirts. But if I decide to run it, obviously the first step will be to restore it. So this is the bad point on the front bumper. Redo all this, then take all the old paint off and actually paint it the correct color for the car. Aside from that, it's pretty good. It's all repairable anyway. It's fiberglass. So something to think about this winter is if I want to run it, when I want to run it, whatever, I need to look into getting it restored and repainted. Maybe it's time for me to learn some fiberglassing to do the bulk of it myself. But I'd be curious to see what you guys think. The bumper, due to one S14 in particular, it's a bumper that I've always liked and wouldn't mind having it on the car as a tip of the hat to that old build. But be curious to see what you guys think. It's right in line with the era and style I'm going for. And compared to some Aero kits, I don't think it's too over the top or crazy looking. It's still fairly at home on a otherwise tame exterior. So yeah, there's the current project. And anyway, while I have the camera going, might as well quickly get this on film as well. The last video update on the car showed the Miracle Bar going in, but I haven't yet shown on video the actual finished product. So we'll get the seat out of the way. And there it is. There's the Miracle Bar as you would have seen, and then the custom closeout panel I built just to finish off the interior and look a little nicer than a completely stripped back half. So side panels are in, custom paneling's in, fire extinguishers mounted, and it all fits around the bar fairly nicely. So if you want more details on this piece and modifying the side panels and all that, it is on the blog. I'll have the links for the relevant posts below if you want to read a bit more detail regarding those. But yeah, there was the main project this year, was the interior, getting it updated. Just get that seat back in place, and then of course there were the other things like the brand new OEM console, new shift boot, horn button over there, and some titanium hardware throughout, etc. Kind of the nothing crazy, but made a big difference. So yeah, that was this year's project, and this is maybe this winter's or next year's project. So Bomex Aero kit for the S15. What do you guys think? I'd be curious to know. But as I said, whether it goes on the car or just stays in the collection, either way, I am happy. This is a pretty cool piece to have in the collection. I'm happy I found it.